I'm afraid of your reaction. I know what I've done was wrong. I chase a new direction in my life.
So finally you walk to me and whisper something sweet. I take your lead and give you a smile, for this could be the start.
I hope that I'll see you and you're here.
What's up, Rodrigo?
Hi, Yogi, how are you? Boa tarde a todos. Sejam bem-vindos a mais um Come Chat With Me, Let's Drink Away. Faço aqui só uma pequenina introdução em português, porque este será mais uma edição especial, maioritariamente em inglês. Tenho a honra de ter aqui um grande músico com uma grande carreira e com um grande currículo para partilhar connosco. Nascido e criado na Califórnia, nos Estados Unidos da América. Yogi Lonich, I have the pleasure to be here with an artist with such a curriculum. I don't think I've ever known about a person with the curriculum that you have, Yogi. Thank you very much for being here.
All good, man. Well, I'm happy to be here.
That's very good to hear. I really want to thank you again for all the attention you have and for taking time to be a part of this project.
Sure.
Feel free, as this is live on my Facebook and YouTube accounts, to share your comments and to share your love in the chat. And every question that comes up will surely be answered as soon as possible throughout the live or after. And as we have this as a premise in the project, we usually have a toast to mark the beginning of the interview. Yogi, do you have anything there with you?
I do.
Awesome.
I have a little drink here.
Me too.
And
I don't know if we shall share what is directly inside, or if
it's
we
not
shall
necessary.
leave it. Excuse me. Can you repeat?
It's not necessary to share it. We don't have
exactly. I was going to say to leave it as a mystery.
Yeah.
Okay, Yogi. Thank you very much again. Cheers to you, and hope you have fun with this.
How do you say cheers in Portuguese?
Here normally we say saúde.
So, salud. It's just like
Saúde.
Spanish.
It's like salud or salute. Yeah.
Yo hablo español también un poco.
Muy bien.
Mi mamá es de Perú.
Perfecto.
Pero inglés is
it's better.
Muy,
Also for me, even though you can really tell that I'm not native, I also feel more comfortable speaking in English than in Spanish. But it's funny that you mentioned that, because you're based in California, in San Jose, to be more specific. But you have, like you said, a Peruvian mother and a Croatian father.
Yes. Yeah.
And having this cultural background, what got you into the art of being a musician?
Well, it wasn't my parents, although they have pretty good, they can sort of they can hum a tune and carry a beat and all that, but they weren't musicians. My sister, I would say Plavka was the biggest influence, because from time she was a child, she was kind of interested in dancing and modeling and applying for like little Star Search programs and different things like that. And she became successful like in her college years as a pop star. But pretty much through like junior high and high school, we had bands, from the time I was like 12 or something. And we just had little projects, but she kind of always inspired me. And my dad had a guitar in the house. So
I've seen beforehand that you believe that that starting to play the guitar and following your sister's footsteps was some of the biggest decisions that you made in your life, and some of the biggest steps you took into becoming the musician that you are today.
Yeah, she basically just turned me on to everything cool, like like Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, whatever, like new wave, everything that was happening like in the 80s. Basically, that was when when sort of I started getting into music. And I would say like my first guitar influences were like Eddie Van Halen and those kind of rock players, but shortly after that, I became interested in jazz and blues guitar. I think the Stray Cats, Brian Setzer was a big influence on my playing at that point, like in high school. And then I just more into blues and jazz in sort of 7th or like 8th and 9th grade in high school.
Okay.
But yeah,
so basically your teenage years really marked you for having these distinctive views on music, from rock, from hard rock to jazz to blues.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I think by the time I was at the end of high school, I was pretty much decided like that I wanted to study and play, study like jazz art forms and stuff and blues and things like that. Like I kind of just started moving towards that direction. Although my career definitely took me into rock and hard rock. And it wasn't, I was just kind of in those circles, I guess, at the time, and those gigs just started coming up. And I do love actually hard rock, and specifically I think I like kind of like Zeppelin-y kind of hard rock, so like bluesy rock.
Yeah.
So, and but I have to say, like, playing in those rock bands, like maybe like Chris Cornell's band, was quite challenging. It was progressive rock a lot of the times, like some odd time signatures, a lot of strange tunings that I was not familiar with. So yeah, it was, and we had a deep catalog. It was like 80 songs or something, that we basically learned.
Only with Chris Cornell?
Just with Chris Cornell, yeah. He had like, because he had solo albums. He had like Temple of the Dog. He had Audio Slave. He had Soundgarden albums. He probably had like 20 different albums with different artists, and including solo art albums. And our catalog drew from all those albums. Wow. So it was like, quite a challenge, but we loved it, and we loved him. It was cool.
Funnily enough, you have a website, and one of the interesting things about you that I found in your website is you talking about you having like a pathos, a new future, and a vision of sincerity for modern rock that belies any doubt of your genius. I really like that.
I didn't write that.
Why wasn't you? I actually thought it could be you.
Bio. So it was a writer. So it's interesting if you take it literally, but yeah, I'm no genius for sure.
You are, for you, like I said before, for you to have the curriculum you have, having worked with such experienced artists.
I think I have good karma mostly, and I'm pretty versatile on guitar. So and I try to, and a lot of luck and a lot of right place, right time. So, but I'm pretty average as far as musician goes. So
no, I don't believe an average artist could have worked with Chris Cornell, with like Alanis Morissette, Shakira, Natasha Bedingfield, just to name a few, because you have such a luggage, an experienced luggage behind you. I believe that the experiences that you might have had during your music journey could have been awesome, and I would like to talk a little bit about that later on.
Sure.
What I would like to ask you right now is, for you, what have been the most important steps into creating your identity as a musician and having this necessity of sharing a new vision, a new mixing in between rock, jazz, blues?
What has been the most?
What have been some of the most important steps for you?
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I don't think I have a unique thing yet. I mean, it's like it's a never-ending search. Like, I think maybe my vocal color has more of a voice, a distinct voice than my guitar playing. Although guitar playing is what my career has been the past 25, 30 years, so, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like, I feel like but I would say just like my influences, different, other students and teachers that I was fortunate to study with. And, obviously like the famous players that I've listened to, shaped my style a little bit. Like I love Jimi Hendrix, I love Jimmy Page, but I also like guys like George Benson and Phil Upchurch, who got to play with who played with George Benson, and I studied with Phil Upchurch a little bit, and I studied with Ted Green in Los Angeles and Grant Geisman, and I had a lesson with Pat Martino. So I've got to study with a lot of cool jazz people, and just basically I'm just an amalgamation of all those different influences, as far as music, and of course pop music. I love Brit pop and Brit rock music. I think as far as the stuff that I'm listening to in my car, it definitely tends to be more British. I like all the Radiohead, I mean, of course, the old stuff, Beatles, Stones, The Who, Zeppelin. But I like more like, new century British music too, like, artists like James Blake, or, different kind of hybrid R&B, soul, hip hop artists and different things like that. So I like all sorts of funky, stuff too. I'm not just sort of like, but I would say like my favorite music to listen to is like British music mostly. I just I like their sense of artistic style,
styling a song.
The whereas American artists tend to be like, I don't know, I don't want to say it but like American singers and players tend to be like more gifted, like as musicians and as but like for me, when I think of artists, like think of like David Bowie or people that like really encompass like lifestyle, or the Beatles, or where they like create a whole scene around their vibe, whereas like if you think of like somebody like brilliant American artists like Marvin Gaye or Al Green or people like that, or it's not so much like lifestyle, and there's not like imagery that gets conjured when you think of those artists. You think of their song, their voice, but like I kind of like all of the other stuff that comes with, like, when you think of like, say, a band like Oasis, you think of the two brothers fighting, and you think of all of this crazy, the drugs and the sex and the so it's like, so I've always sort of been influenced by lifestyle music, and that's why I probably liked Van Halen a lot, because they're an American rock band, or were, or still are. I don't know if they're still going, but like they were like, they had this amazing persona like David Lee Roth, and he was like this ladies' man, and they were a party band, and and I think that especially young people, they're influenced more by the lifestyle of the artist than the music. And the music is, of course, cool too, but I think they like the fact,
they want to know more about what's behind the actual.
Yeah. So that's, so, I mean, so I think a lot of my influence is like based on things outside of the music too, you know, like as far as like why I get into an artist. It's like, oh, they're into, you know, this strange hobby also, and then it makes me like dig them, you know, or something like that. So
I want to know more about it.
but you know, but then of course, like, yeah, it's like, you know, just the American jazz artists, it's like there's almost no comparison, you know, like that's where the art was born. And, you know, there aren't that many, you know, John Scofields on guitar, or, you know, Wes Montgomerys, or, you know, Miles Davis, or all these, you know. So it's like you can't, even Miles Davis though, he's kind of like one of those where his lifestyle and his weird energy and his offstage persona, you know, was a big part of what made his music mysterious and made him the icon that he is, you know. So it's, yeah, it's cool. I mean, I'm just kind of influenced by a lot of life things as well as music, but
this is an example that I can find. It's more recent, but and sadly, when sadly this person passed, I wasn't that much into the genre of music because I'm also a big jazz fan. Not that cultured. Don't know a lot about the for example the artist and the songs, but I really dig the concept and the idea of jazz. And one person that instantly caught my attention into knowing more about them is Amy Winehouse.
oh yeah,
Because of how distinctive she was,
yeah,
how much media were onto her, trying to capture more of the negative side of being an artist, and her having to sadly leave us at such a young age.
yeah.
The unfortunate 27 years old, and the impact it has on music artists. But I completely understand the point that you have, the interest into knowing more about the actual artist behind the song, not only the music.
Right.
And you talked about how much you enjoy Britpop and British music.
Right.
Do you feel that it slightly impacts your way of creating music?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like my first album, Meta, which is my first solo record, was basically really influenced by like, you know, 90s and early 2000s, you know, pop and Brit pop, and more. There was no guitar solos or anything on that album. It was just all songs, you know, with lyrics and melodies. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, definitely. I'm, you know, and then like I have a rock band called Run Through the Desert, which was like Zeppelin influenced, and I put it together during the Chris Cornell time, and I had the drummer Jason Sutter and Corey McCormick record the album with me and co-write music, and we were all, you know, in that vibe, sort of like, it was like Zeppelin-y influenced, also like Chris Cornell influenced a bit, but mostly I was, you know, kind of trying to get sort of a Zeppelin-y thing, you know, on that album. So yeah, so for sure the British stuff is rubbing off on my taste, you know.
This could be a little bit of a polemic question, but I feel I have the urge to ask you: is it okay to be inspired by some? Because there's always that thin line between being inspired by someone and trying to copy.
Oh, it's great being inspired by. I think that's almost how 80% of our creations come about, you know. I mean, you know, like I'll often hear something, you know, some artist, and I'll be like, wow, I want to record something that sounds like that, you know, like something electronic with just like electronics, like no real instruments or something. And then maybe I'll take a stab at creating something, you know. Obviously, like, you don't want to like take a melody idea from them and use it in your own song. Like that's, But I think as far as like
too far.
production ideas, I think are cool. Like if you said, hey, this guy's using a Indian tabla with a viola and acoustic piano, like those three instruments sound interesting randomly. I'm just, and if you decide to put something like that together and write your own song, I think that's fine. That's a production idea. That's not really like copying a song, or it's not a, I definitely am not into, like lifting lyrics or melodies from other artists or condone that. But I think getting a vibe, like something like, I didn't really think, what was that song where it was like the Marvin Gaye against the artist, they had the lawsuit. What was it? It's like Pharrell.
I have an idea of it. I don't know if anyone who's watching can help me out on it.
It was like Pharrell. It was that song, and they thought
was it Happy?
No,
was
it was
Happy?
a different song. It was with this other artist. It was Pharrell and another artist. I don't remember what it was.
Are you talking about Uptown Funk?
Nope.
No.
It was like
I have an idea that happened, but I don't remember the actual song.
It's like, oh, it was like basically like Pharrell used the whole production similar to what Marvin Gaye did in the 70s. I wish I could even hum the song, but I can't. But it was like, basically it was like keyboard, a bunch of percussion, similar tempo, similar kind of vibe, but it's like the lyrics and melody were completely different. So, I mean, you can't, like, if one band has guitar, bass, and drums, and another band has guitar, bass, and drums, that's not a copyright issue. It's like, it's only if the notes that they're playing are exactly like the same, in some way. So I don't know, but yeah, it's like I just kind of think it's silly sometimes when some people like try to claim that a song was copied just because they use some similar instrumentation. It's like, so I don't know. I think that's
as more and more songs come about as time passes. It's becoming more and more hard to be completely distinctive and completely pioneer in creating a genre of music, for example.
Right.
I completely understand that, and I also feel that it's good to be inspired by someone. And I would like to take this to share a bit of love and a bit of cherishment that we receive here from Martin Guimarães da Costa, who has been a previous guest here on the project. He's an architect.
Hey, Martin.
He's saying boa tarde, which is good afternoon in Portuguese.
Good afternoon.
Obrigado por estares aqui. Thank you for being here, and I hope you're enjoying this little chat. And my dear Anabela Santos, she is just to put you into context, she's also been a guest, and she's one of the main reasons why this project also happened, because she's a member, the president of an association that is supporting the project related to arts, to traditional arts, and artisans.
Great. That's beautiful.
Which is also another part of me.
Cool.
And you've talked about Chris Cornell. I've also mentioned Alanis Morissette, Shakira, Natasha Bedingfield, Anastacia, just to mention a few. You've worked alongside bands Buckcherry, The Wallflowers, and Fuel.
Yeah.
Which is just only a little bit of the music background and history that you have. Can you mark some of the best moments that you've had in gigs, being alongside these artists or in your bands?
Right. Well, when I think of like my favorite times, like with Buckcherry, for instance, that was like we just opened some incredible shows. I mean, we opened for Lenny Kravitz for a month, AC/DC for a month. Been on tour with Kiss for a month. We opened for Aerosmith. I mean, we've opened so we supported all these giant bands, But one time, like for the 2000 Millennium New Year's, we opened for Mr. Big and Aerosmith I think it was Aerosmith. Yeah. Yeah. Was it? Yeah. And, just big concerts, Osaka Dome, I don't know, more than 100,000 people, or 200,000, I don't know.
Wow.
And Buckcherry also played Woodstock 99, which was epic. That was when there was all these fires and chaos,
Yeah.
And we were there, I think, the first day, maybe. So the second day was when the hell broke loose during the Chili Peppers set. But,
you were lucky in that event.
Yeah, but it was just super crazy and fun. So, like, those kind of big shows are iconic, and we great show.
Particularly talked about opening in a New Year's in a New Year's Eve concert, and I believe those are some of the events that can bring and can join most people. So you're talking about playing for 100 to 200,000 people,
right?
I can't really imagine the feeling that must be looking in front of you and seeing ants instead of people,
right?
seeing little dots,
a sea of people, of heads. Yeah, it's pretty cool,
And also, Grammy nominations aside,
Mm.
how was it like for you being a part of this particular Grammy nomination with Buckcherry?
I mean, it was just that whole band was like snow, like it was just everything was just flowing. We had a big machine of DreamWorks records behind us, and it was like I was fortunate to be in a band that had a big record deal, and the budgets for just a video, and we had like guarantees for multiple videos per album, and each budget for each video was more than $250,000, so it was like, I mean, like, it was just crazy, like it was a big deal, and like it was, I feel like those deals don't really exist anymore, so
and it's always a risk.
Yeah, it's like
when you invest so much, it's always a risk. The feedback could sometimes not be the feedback that you expect.
Right.
And,
but I mean, this was like the kind of record label that was just gonna put enough money into it so that the band will get the right exposure and will get on the right bills with the right bands. And we had like the biggest, like, I think CAA agency or William Morris or whatever it was, so we kind of just had the golden touch, supporting us, and it was great, but the band was rocking, of course, like they wouldn't have supported us if we weren't good, so, and it was,
sure.
It was great. It was super fun. Grammy nominee was just like one of the things. We also won like a Kerrang award, which is something in England that they give. And we were just doing all the stuff that, like, MTV stuff and interview stuff. It was just kind of like everything you would imagine a 90s rock band doing, and it was
being
cool.
Surrounded by attention and receiving so much love, so much support from fans, and
it's pretty crazy, it's like it's weird when you go on tour and you have all this adoration and attention, and then you come home to your apartment and it's just dead silent, and it could screw with your head, where you just feel like, well, where's the tour manager and the guitar tech helping me and like catering to me, and you get used to all this kind of weird help, all the time, and then you're just sort of alone again in between tours, just sitting at home and making phone calls so that you could talk to somebody, but that was a long time ago, but I just it's weird. It's like this weird, not that many artists talk about it, but if you're on a whirlwind touring situation, when you come home, a lot of artists, they get this sort of post-tour blues vibe or depression, or it can get it just depends on how you regulate your sanity, but yeah, it's
do you feel excuse me for interrupting. Do you feel that being inside them and having experienced that whirlwind of emotions has impacted you now that you've passed through all the experience that you have with your rock bands, performing on some of the biggest stages? Do you feel like this has affected you into creating this new version of you, more into peace and calmness?
not so much, because I was pretty much writing acoustic songs before Buckcherry, and I was writing, but it, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, definitely all of the experiences I've had make me who I am today, of course, but I don't feel too affected, by that stuff as much. I think there was definitely a time where maybe I got a little bit lonely or whatever. Like I'd come home and then you just sort of get lonely, and you're not, you're young and you're sort of just out of sorts a little bit. But I picked up a Vipassana meditation practice in the 2000s, and it helped chill me out so that I really just didn't have any weird attachments. It's sort of like a Buddhist thing, like non-attachment, nothing's permanent, but yeah, so that helped kind of regulate me a little bit, through my life. And I still sort of draw on that. If I ever feel getting stressed out, then I could sort of draw on my practice, like meditation stuff or spiritual stuff, but
you feel like you can react better to the whole confusion that is around the music industry, and the most pressurizing things about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just in general, it's not about reaction, but just taking action, or just not being involved in it, and I'm mostly spending my time in Croatia, in Zagreb, and so there's not really a music business here, so it's very small. So it's I'm basically not so much involved in the chaos that was LA, and hustling and music managers and agents and all that, so
now you talked about Croatian, and I really want to know, since this was the main reason why I got to know you as an artist. And firstly, as a preparing question, I would like to ask, was this that you've talked about right now one of the reasons why you intended to enter Dora this year?
No, actually, really, I was producing another artist, artist named Francis, and we were writing songs, and I had been writing a lot of songs actually in that period. And one of the songs was Love at First Sight. And I am a Croatian citizen, and you could only apply for Dora, or whatever, if you're a citizen of that country. And a couple of my friends heard a demo I was recording of Love at First Sight, and they were like, this is a great song. Why don't you apply for Dora? And I was like, well, this is not Eurovision material at all. Eurovision is really crazy fun, crazy costumes. It's a whole different thing. And but I said, okay, it doesn't cost me anything to just send my song in. So I did. And then a month later, they were like, we would like you to perform on the show. So I was involved in Dora for Croatia. And yeah, it was, I really didn't expect it, but it was so fun. It was like a week in a 5-star hotel, doing TV stuff, and on the coast of Croatia. So it was like a little paid vacation with a lot of TV exposure,
Wonderful.
So yeah, it was super fun.
Yeah, I completely imagine it, and I believe this is the main reason why I got so attached to Love at First Sight. And for me, I can share this. For me, this was the winner of Dora this year.
Oh
Mm.
wow.
Really,
That's
because as a jazz fan myself, I feel like Eurovision is missing that hint of jazz, that soulful, the smoothness of jazz and bossa nova. And when I listen, it's quite rare, sadly, but when I listen to a song that is so connected and so pure, I instantly feel attached to it, and
oh,
it makes me
I'm happy.
sad with seeing the treatment that you got in the voting. But hopefully, you get the idea that the result doesn't show the artist that you are, and
Right. Oh, I'm
what
not.
you intend.
I didn't really expect me to rate very well. I mean, next to the other stuff that's, total like Dora, Eurovision, like the guys who won, I think the Sh song, it was really funny. It's
Yes.
political. It's making fun of Putin and all this
Mhm.
stuff. And, the costumes, and they put a lot of marketing energy into it. I mean, they have like merchandising, everything, like coffee cups with the song title, like all sorts of.
But you could do exactly the same to
But I,
publicize the song.
but I wouldn't. It's not. Yeah, I would never. I don't know. It's like I'm just not that kind of artist. But
Mhm.
but I actually like the song, and it grew on me. The winning song, and I thought they were totally funny, and it's just total entertainment. So, and it's perfect for Eurovision. So I get it. People want to have like a fun party song, and it's totally cool. But I do have many people have approached me in public and have said like, "Oh, your song was my favorite. You could tell it's like, you know, from abroad. It's not like Croatian style, blah blah blah."
Mhm.
And I appreciate the compliments. It's cool. But
It's well deserved.
it's fine. It's fine. It really was a song that I literally wrote so fast and recorded so fast and really didn't it was like one of maybe 20 songs that I wrote in a period of like 6 weeks. So
Wow.
and yeah, I had a really big writing period. I was doing a lot of like morning pages. It's sort of a technique that some artists do where you write every morning to like open creative blocks, and just to open up the creativity in general. And so I was like, writing and recording like like trying to do like a song a day or every 2 days, and that was one of them that sort of came out, which was a little more special than the others, but yeah.
I imagine why that's why you decided to go with this one.
Yeah,
Did this
right.
spark any curiosity in you competing in the following years again?
I've been invited to do that. We'll see. If I have something that I think is cool for it, maybe I'll go totally weird next time, and do something completely electronic, or something, or
More into your genesis, into your rock period,
right.
the
Yeah.
one you
I
feel
mean,
the most.
it's also like a little bit of a bummer that you can't perform on Dora. You can have a band faking it with you, like a guy like pretending to play drums or pretend. But so for me, I don't know. That's weird. It's like I'm not really into the whole faking thing, So, but maybe just like if I have just some track in the background and I just sing it, and I can have like a couple of weird, monkeys on stage, and some weird costume, like three-headed costume, or you know, and just
Yeah, could
totally
be an
go.
idea.
It's just almost
I imagine you're talking about this right now, and next year I see your name on Dora again, and I see the three-headed creation on stage with you, and I think, yes,
it would
you
be
talk
crazy.
about it on my show.
Who knows, man?
You talked about this, so you feel. I imagine you must have felt strange being and having played the guitar on stage, and I imagine that you played correctly, but the trueness of playing the guitar didn't show since it was broadcasted and you're using the backing track.
Yeah, I mean, I basically played it as I would have played it live. Like I was playing, but that wasn't my guitar that you heard on the track. It was what I pre-recorded, but same guitar, same performance. So, I felt like I was playing it because I was, but it just wasn't the sound that you heard on TV.
It wasn't transmitted.
But the vocal was the live thing. That's the main thing they're concerned, but they want the vocals to be the live performance, and that seems to be the most, important thing to them.
Yes, because sadly, from my understanding, the restrictions have been less and less concerning the vocal performances at Eurovision.
Oh yeah.
They're giving more freedom for artists to use pre-recorded vocals, especially.
Well, they definitely allow background vocals, but not lead vocal, and has to be sang. So
yes, and for me that's the whole point. I'm from 1999, and sadly, the Eurovision before 1999, the Eurovision had an orchestra. Accompanying each and every song.
Wow.
And it's quite sad that they stopped doing that, because I'm also a big fan of hearing the live instrumentation and this orchestral vibe.
Right.
And for me, that's sad that Eurovision stopped doing that, and even sadder that this is happening with the vocals, because I really enjoyed this feeling of listening to a live vocal.
Well, the lead vocal is live, I mean, like everybody's lead vocal is live. It's just the background vocals that you hear, the harmonies and things that are basically on the, pre-recorded, but you are hearing the main artist singing live. So yeah.
And that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yogi, I would like to leave you with a final question, and
we could.
I like
by
to
the
call
way,
this.
I still have extra time. We can go for like another 15-20 minutes if you want.
Hopefully, this question will last the 15 to 20 minutes, because this normally is the deeper question. I call this the come chat question. This is the question that I ask all my guests here. One of my biggest mottos is the immortalization of arts.
The whatization?
The immortalization. The
Oh.
arts should never die.
Right.
So excuse me for my pronunciation.
That's all right.
Meaning that the arts should never die. And bearing this in mind, I would like to ask you, what would you like to leave for the future generations to remember what you did as an artist, what you do as an artist, and all your music background?
Woo! I mean, really, I'm lucky I have like about 4 albums that I've created, and I'm sure there'll be more, in the near future. But I'm not, I don't rate myself in any of these positions like any genius positions of people who really influence. Like, I'm no Beatles, I'm no Miles Davis, but
you have the right of, for example, you've inspired me. This is why I contacted you into being a part of this. You should value the impact that you've had with your music.
I don't know. Okay, but I don't know. Like, things are changing so much right now. Like with AI and Chat GPT, it's like I don't think like starting in 2023, like I don't think there's not going to be a lot of music that doesn't have an artificial intelligence writing partner. I think it's, and even like videos and photography and pretty much a lot of the arts are like, sadly, not going to be 100% created by an individual or a group of individuals. I'm sure there'll be bands and artists who do it the old school way, but it's interesting. And, I'll probably be here for another 30 years, maybe
50.
Maybe,
Let's say 50.
We'll see, but I mean, it's hard to say, like, there's going to be so many other people influencing the music, I mean, I really don't know what I just hope I have a little catalog of music, and if anybody likes to download it and listen to it in the future, if it brings them joy or happiness, or maybe helps their sadness or sorrow. Like, I mean, that to me, those are like the coolest experiences that I've had, is when somebody sent me a message on social media, like, hey, this song that you wrote, like, it really helped me get through this time, or something. And then that's like, wow, that means so much more than record sales, or whatever, but it's just nice when people get affected by the music. So, I mean, if somebody can take away some joy or some peace from my music, and if that's what I can bring to people, then that's the ultimate situation, or some party music, or make people feel good,
Do you believe? Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, of course, like, I'm also an educator part-time, like, I do some guitar clinics, and I do some little things like that. So, I mean, I have, a lot to say to students, of guitar, but as far as my artistic thing, I just hope that people can find something beautiful in it, and maybe make their day better somehow.
I apologize in advance for asking this question, but you talked about the term that I haven't ever heard before. What does exactly a guitar clinic do?
Oh, that's okay. It's basically like a group guitar lesson. It usually goes for like 1 to like 3 hours, or it could be like a weekend thing. I'm actually doing a guitar clinic. Clinic is just like a workshop, basically. So okay. I show up there. There's like, I don't know, 20 to 100 students or whatever.
Wow.
And then, it just depends on how big it is. And I'm, basically just there to answer questions, maybe do a performance. I can maybe have a couple of musicians with me to perform. And then I take questions and answer, we do question and answer session. And it's basically like a
talk.
Yeah, it's a talk. It's a little bit more than like a school lesson, because it's usually you go a bit deeper into more important topics, rather than just like, this is the E string, this is the A string, whatever. It's not like a beginning guitar lesson. It's more like for advanced players. And, I cover topics that are usually not covered in school, whether that be like certain expression or maybe certain feel stuff that they don't teach in school, different things like that. Or,
you're in a way with that, you're enabling some musicians, or some future musician stars to be creative. For the ones who have the basics but don't know, or don't have the courage to advance more and to enhance more their skills in playing guitar. You're being
and also those clinics or workshops tend to, and we also discuss music business things, like how to show up at an audition, and what's professional, what's not professional, so there's, and I could really open it up, the workshop, beyond even guitar playing. It could just talk about, my career, or different things, or like how to talk with a manager, and negotiate, whatever, negotiate a salary, so it could do that.
Guess that's also important.
But yeah, so but I enjoy doing those kind of things, like, or teaching like advanced guitar lessons. That's fun too, you know.
Wonderful.
But it's just weird. I mean, it's like now with internet too, like there's so many online teaching going on and so many brilliant young players. There probably always were brilliant young players, but now that with the internet, we know who they are, and they just all they have to do is post a video. And so it's incredible the amount of talent that's out there. And I really am encouraged and excited to see what else comes out. Like, I don't think that, even though I was talking about AI and like, you know, there's a lot of like artificial stuff being generated, but there's still real musicians playing, you know, and there's people taking it very seriously and youngsters who are just amazing. You know, your Jacob Collier's and different people like that who are just like prodigies. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited about, you know, new music coming out, and I'm always open to hear what's happening, you know. Definitely. And I'm not sort of just stuck in old music, you know. But yeah, which is
even though I believe the old music is going through like a revival, because I can talk about what I know from society here in Portugal, in my surroundings, but us in our generation, in the 20s, 2030s, are big fans of 80s music, 70s, 80s, and 90s music from when we weren't even born.
Mhm.
And bearing in mind, of course, the more rock and pure side of the instrumentalization, and the electronic vibe of the electro pop, the Euro dance pop of the 80s and 90s. So I completely understand the point you have with the AIs and the GPS chats and the way they're trying to automatically create music.
right.
But I believe it will never be the same, and there's always going to be a little part of us that's going to attach more to the older music, the when music was more natural, when it was more
Right.
real.
Yeah. I'm glad to have been a part of that history too, because it is history. Like anybody born today now is going to be, you know, there's going to be some influence, some computer AI influence almost, you know. It's just, it's crazy. I actually, I have a chat GPT account, and I just said, write me a story in the style of Shakespeare about a man and a woman who meet at a carnival. You know, I just write this prompt, and I said, maybe write me a 10-page story, you know, and literally within seconds, the whole thing is, and it's like really well constructed with like beginning, middle, end. I really can't, like, no human could do it that fast, you know. And it's like, it's just, I mean, maybe it's not, but I mean, you know, you could just, I'm sure that you could probably say, write me a song, a love song, you know, in the style of Bob Dylan, you know, about a guy who gets, you know, whatever, like taken advantage of by some blah, 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 you know, and like, I'm sure like it could do it, you know, and you probably won't, and depending on the artist's performance, you know, with music, production, and everything, you probably won't really, you know, think that it was ever written by AI. You know, I don't know. It's definitely a weird time. I haven't had AI write any of my lyrics yet. I did for fun, like just say, you know, write a song in the style of Jay-Z or something, you know, write a rap, you know, and then you read it and it's just like, it's similar stuff, you know. It's really crazy. I don't know.
That might be possibly the most positive take you can have on these new inventions,
Right.
to have these things, especially talking about structuring music and structuring
Right.
stories. You
Right.
can see it in this positive take, but also in a certain way, I like to think that if it's not done 100% by us, it won't have the same raw emotion that you're trying to convey. It will not be faithful to your experiences and what you intend to write in that lyric.
Right.
At
Yeah.
least that's the way I see it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there will always be like these true artists, I'm sure, but it's just interesting to see where things will go in the next 10 years. Like, yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
Hopefully, we'll meet again 10 years,
Right?
10 years ahead, and we'll chat again about this and check really check what happened in these
Right?
10 years. If everything
That'll
that
be
we're talking
amazing.
about
Let's
happened,
do it. Let's plan on it.
that will be wonderful. Yogi, I don't know if you have any final words you would like to say. If you would like to share your social media, there are some links in the description of the event on
Okay.
Facebook and on YouTube to your Instagram and Facebook. But I don't know if you want to share
I
any.
have a website. It's just yogimusic.com, and I have my albums available there. But I have my albums available on Spotify and YouTube. Unfortunately, they're hard to find because my artist name is just Yogi, and I think there's a lot of yogis. But the names of my albums, if you search Yogi along with Metta, Metta, that's my first solo album. Second solo album is Hesitant Poet, and then third solo album is called Rebirth. And then I have this other band, rock band, which was called Run Through the Desert, and that album is called Break the Silence. So those are just the 3 albums so far, but are four albums.
Mm-hmm. So if anyone here who may be watching or might watch this after is interested on getting to know more about Yogi's music, you can follow on Spotify to these album names.
Yeah.
Yogi, I would really like to thank you again for
My pleasure.
to have this little chat and for letting me know a little bit more about your musical background.
You got it, Rodrigo. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
To say goodbye. And I was missing. This was a part of my identity in this project. I was missing my hat, and I only remember it right now at the end.
Right.
Just to finish it off in Portuguese, de curioso das artes para vocês. Este foi mais episódio do Come Chat With Me. From art curious to all of you, this was another episode of Come Chat With Me. Thank you very much for being with us. If you have any curiosities, please let us know. And feel free to message Yogi on the social media, sharing feedback on the music. And I believe we'll see you in the next episode of Come Chat. Yogi, thank you very much again.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day, everyone.
Peace.